coming to you in the name of control and destroy as a sacrifice to their father, the devil. This is your host, John Briano, P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834, on the web at thefullertoninformer.com, 5gdangers.com, vaxdangers.com, celltowerdangers.com, WiFiDangers.com, and many other .coms. And this broadcast today is about the Russian and Chinese attack on the United States. Now, I want to talk to you about this because you're going to hear about how China is going to invade the United States and how Russia is going to nuke the West Coast and all of these allegations, right? Ladies and gentlemen, the United States of America.
I don't want to downplay this guy just because he's driving his car, because I'm in my car. I'm in a van down by the river. And good morning, good evening, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob. Hope you're having a good day. Same as it ever was. Seems so scary. Oh my God, everyone's up. Really, Russia's going to invade America. It can't even invade Ukraine. That's like right on its doorstep, right? How's it going to get here? Is it going to mail itself through Amazon? I don't think so. But kids, let's check out what Mr. Google has to say. Google-oni. We'll get rid of this guy here. Let's see. What happened to the bridge, I-95 at Groton, Connecticut? Take a look at that picture. There is no picture. There we go. I don't hear anything about this. Things been burning like that for the last few days. Let's see. Groton, Connecticut. State police have identified a home heating oil truck driver who was killed in the rollover crash on the Golden State Bridge that sparked a massive fire and shut down Interstate 95, both directions, for nearly 2 hours on Friday, officials say. 2 southbound lanes reopened Friday evening, with more lanes expected to open between 11 a.m. and noon Saturday. According to what's his name, a spokesperson of the State Department of Transportation, the agency also opened an on-ramp to the Golden State Bridge from Bridge Street in Groton. However, it will be restricted to one lane. Well, I don't know. That's right where our nuke subs are, and the guys who protect our coasts. Their academy is there, and electric boat is there, and underneath that bridge where that gigantic fire was, I didn't, home heating oil, really gasoline maybe, but home heating oil, I don't know. So, I guess that's the Chinese. Who knows? Dr. Creepy. Careful with rural exploitation. Yep, rural exploitation. Rural exploitation is what I'm experiencing right now. Let's see, close. Be careful. Here I am. I'm being careful. Are you being careful? So I go on and on and on, and again, people, Colonel Sanders at the end of the cul-de-sac has, got more guns than God, and he doesn't keep them in the safe or keep them safe. He's got all these kids, all these people roaming around his house, and I gotta be ready just in case. Really, he was showing me all this ammunition. Come on, and I had my eye operated on. Sure, it's getting better. And when you have a problem and it gets better, that's good. So they gave me these glasses, and they give me these things every time they stick this gigantic needle into my eyeball, and I say, "Look over there," while they're bringing the needle in. So anyway, he said, "Boy, that's great. Good. Let me get this. Let me try them on." I said, "No, no. I mean, I just came back from the hospital, and I've told them 15 times, don't touch my face, don't touch my glasses. I have, and then and then I projected, when he went to grab my glasses, said, "No, don't touch my face." He said, "Don't yell at me." You know, I don't want anybody yell on my own property. I said, "Well, we're not on your property. We're in the property that you are squatting on." Yeah, well, yeah, not around my kids or my wife. I said, "They're not here. It's just you and me." This is the scary thing is that most of the human race is experiencing what this guy is. He's like out of touch, and he is so self medicating with alcohol, and pretty much everyone out there on the road is frigging got a buzz on. If it's not fentanyl, it's meth. If it's not meth, it's crack. If not crack, it's alcohol. If not that, it's like 40 cups of coffee. And so, but pretty much this has been the same as it ever was, right? Because that is what you go back to Rome and they had bread and circus. We have big screen TVs and fast food. Nothing has changed, right? And before Rome, there was Egypt. Before Egypt, there was Greece and Mesopotamia and other cultures even before that. And before that, we were a multiple planet spacefaring culture, right? And we read the Old Testament. There's tons of you could construe that as the case, right? The guy who was talking about the big donut in the sky, that shooting off sparks, blah blah blah. And what is really needed when it comes to spirituality is your connection to the great creator, right? And your connection to, you know, love's unconditional forgiveness. And that's Jesus Christ, And you could say Buddha, you could say Vishnu, you could say, oh, and then you get into the cats like Moses and Job and, you know, our friendly, the most holy man of Mecca, who's not a god or anything. He's just a person who saw things, right? And as Moses saw things, right? And but it's you know the word fuck, right? What does that mean? Fornicate under church and king. What does fornicate mean? If you go all back to the Sumerian uh, and further, it is the disconnection of our individual free will from love's co-creation, where we are looking at, and that's why the burning bush sent Moses into Egypt to in Exodus to exit the Hebrew nation because they weren't slaves like cleaning toilets. They were middle managers. They were being enslaved by materialism, and that was Egypt. Egypt had the last gasps of the old technology, and they were using it as a great bait and switch. I mean, that was building. The pyramids were just a leftover from other cultures, and those are devices, and that's what they were. The pyramids were devices, right? And they did everything from taking out asteroids to taking out unfriendlies coming to visit. And good old Gene Roddenberry's um, you know Star Trek, when Jim Kirk got sent to this planet, and they were going to try to get this big asteroid was heading towards this planet, and they were trying to get the people. Their technology saw that there was a higher technology, a deflector shield, and they went down, and Spock and Scotty and Kirk were trying to um, you know get the thing working, but they couldn't even get into it. And as they were trying to get into it, the ray went and basically whacked Jim and sent the rest of the crew back to the ship and threw them a number of light years away and burnt out their faster than light engines. And so they're right in front of the um, asteroid, and Spock's trying to cut it like a diamond, and he burns out other parts of the ship. So they're just ahead of it by an hour or two before it's about to whack this planet. And but Jim is down on the planet. He has amnesia, and he's standing in front of this what these folks see as a religious icon, and it's a pyramid, right? And that was good old, Mr. Star Trek giving Gene Roddenberry giving a heads up to this is what our pyramids are. They are technical devices. Now there is a ton of this information out there. And Dr. Joseph P. Farrell, if you go read his Death Star books, has a ton of it in there, right? And if you go watch him on Dark Journalist, that is a very good show. And all of these shows, YouTube has a ton of great stuff. Just like this show is loads of fun. And of course, I'm being kept down on the farm, but that's fine. I people don't realize that I basically this is a shamanic show, right? And energetically, you're watching me die in front of you, right? And I'm keeping myself alive because after I died and went up and had my life review, I was in the basement of the Catholic school where the nun murdered me in first grade, and basement was the cafeteria. And bang, I was sitting at one of these little tables that kids sit at, and the smell of vomit and that green stuff that they shake on it, and other cleaning supplies was all around, and there were all these sheet cakes with "Welcome Home" on them, and balloons, and party hats, and I was there, and there my masters were, and my master Akasha K. He was saying, "You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job." And I go, "Wait a minute, doing? Aren't I home?" He goes, "Well, you can come for vacation, but that doesn't mean you're home." I said, "Wait a minute, wait. I died. You know, how could I live through that? My heart exploded, my brain exploded, everything exploded in a plate of spaghetti. What's?" He goes, "Well, you've done great. You have done 89% of everything you agreed to do, and that's better than most, right? But if you need a little time out, you can spend an eternity here in this basement with a sheet cake. You want that? You can eat as much sheet cake as you want, buddy, or you can go back, right? And lose all that weight, get yourself into a state where you can, complete that 11%, and you'll be good. And so, that was choice. Free will, yeah, it's yours. But if you stick around here for an eternity just eating sheet cake and smelling the vomit, um, you know, when you're going to go back into the wearing blender of karma, and you'll be spat at. Well, you've done a great job. So, you're not going to come out something really terrible, but who knows? It's a roulette wheel. We have no control over it. But you have done 89% of what you're supposed to do, and that's way better than most. And you're really sharp. You got all tuned up. You have all this experience. You want to waste that? And just think of all the people you can help. You know, you use those three guardrails you got. Doctor, do no harm. Do not get involved unless you can extricate yourself and the innocents, right, with a exit plan that will work. And do not get involved unless you can learn something that will help others, right? So you got 11% to do that. So, you know, I came back and I, you know, popped up off of gurney like Chatty Cathy. They were rolling in to crack my chest and give me a quadruple bypass and cut my legs off. And I said, "What are you doing?" And they said, "No, we're going to do this." And everyone ran away. They were scared shitless because I was so pumped full of fentanyl. And the doctor was just keeping me very right on that line of dead and alive because they don't want you to jump up like I did in the middle of an operation when they have you cracked open. So I basically said, "No, no, no, no. Roll me back into the intensive care ICU." And the lawyer came and said, "What?" I said, "Listen, you're not my lawyer. You're not a power of attorney. You can't tell him to do that without my signing it. You just want me to take care of your problem. That stupid doctor said I'd be ready to go in 3 weeks. Forget that shit. No, what I need is, send me down. We have a month left, right? We got plenty of time. Send me down to your really nice hacienda down in the Keys. Get me a colonic therapist. Get me a nutritionist. Get me an endocrinologist. Get me an acupuncturist. You know, get me all of these things. A massage therapist, a chiropractor, someone who does cranial sacral, and readjust me, and I'll come and do your job," which I did. And then he was righteous enough not just to pay me that ridiculous sum of money, but he sent me back to his nice little hacienda and he paid for those people to tweak on me for another month or so. Where I pretty much got my homeostasis back and changed my diet. And still, I wasn't up to snuff to do any more work. So um, I went back to the deep green and spent, that was 14, so 14, 15, 16, 16. And then Johnny Boy, end of 16, I sold, in September of 16, I sold the school to Johnny Boy. And then I knew I needed to stay there to help him make the transition and help him kind of figure out what to do with the place because it really needed a lot of work. And John has done an extraordinary job of saving the school. He really did. He fixed all the leaks. He fixed all this. He fixed all that. He fixed the things that were about to fall down. He fixed, he probably put about 50 grand into that. But there were plenty of things that needed to be done that if he would have only had done them, he probably could have sailed that school by now. One of them was when the rest of the people we have a big long driveway, about 2.5 miles, and the school is at the end of it. And, the tweakers are coming back. I think it's them. They left early in the morning. I can't believe that they're back this early. Yep. I don't know where they went. They didn't bring their trailer. Oh, Crampop came back with a trailer. It was a 2-car hacienda. So anyway, so there, and I spent 2.5 years with John, and then he started throwing me out. Spent another almost year there, and I came here in 2018 to stay. I mean, I had this place since I bought this in 2003 and built, cleared the space and kind of turned it into what it is now, the deep green, around 2006, 7, and 8. And so here I am. You know, this place is going to change because it is so sensitive, so much like the Garden of Eden that I, basically kept as the Garden of Eden for the last 18 years. In the last 2.5 years, um, Colonel Sanders and Grandpa, what kind of chopper is that? Oh, I can't see. I'm blind. Anyway, but my eye is getting better. See, Getting better. It was all red. I looked like now I just look like I have bloodshot eyes, but I look like I was a comic book villain. So anybody, why is it? Well, it's clicking away. I wonder why there's no live chat. Yeah, there we go. There's the live chat. You don't notice things when you're blind. Anyway, so here I am, right? And so I'm on a new adventure, right? I have no idea where I'm going to go. I probably will be here for because the summer's going to be really, really nice. And I'm going to try and do a paranormal glamping, meaning people can come here and pay me a nice offering. And I will show you all kinds of amazing, because this is right in the middle of the Blue Ridge. We're between the Blue Ridge and Appalachian in the accordion Sawtooth Mountain Range, and this is one of the most paranormal neck of the woods. This is on the same level as the pyramids and Stonehenge and all the rest. And that's why this place is, the people who want to come and just turn it into Burger King. That's why this place is dying, because Colonel Sanders up there spraying around, what you call it, Roundup on everything, because and so my place looks like the Garden of Eden. Looks, this is what my place looks like. This is what my place looks like, and his place like burnt it all off with Roundup, and it looks like a basically a military compound, right? He's got a ton of vehicles up there and trailers, and just I don't know if you've seen any pictures of Ukraine. That's kind of what so he took a really beautiful spot that looked just like that and turned it into a bombed out neck of the woods that looks like the Ukraine. So, and he's not the only one. I would say 20% of all the tweakers and cockroaches that are coming from California to get away from that terrible stuff, all those homeless people. Well, they are changing the economics here to the point that all the holler folk are being redlined. And why there's so many homeless people in San Francisco. I still live in San Francisco in the 60s, man. I just kind of cruised in there and got an apartment for $23 down in Haight Ashbury, And everyone's, oh man, you're so cool, And then I went to LA and went up into the mountains up there, and where Joni Mitchell and all those people were hanging out. And they said, "You're so California, man. You're so laid back." And I was like, I can't stand this place, and because everyone is not who they are. Me, I am straight up who I am. You see me. This is me, right? I tell you the stories. I show you photographs. I give you information, right? And whereas the tweakers, no. But see, they are so translucent that you can see the person. When the guy goes, Grandpa Cockroach, the first thing he said, straight up, I'm not gay, right? When somebody says the first thing out of their mouth before they even tell you their name that they're not gay, who cares? I sure don't. I worked in theater for 30 years. I had a lot of friends who died of AIDS. When I told them that, well, good riddance, I was like his son, wanting to just take my glasses and didn't care that I had just spent half the day in the operating room, right? And that I asked him to drive me there, and he said, "Oh no, too busy," right? And I had to drive 40 miles and get my eyes operated on, and then drive back. Luckily, A, there was no traffic, and B, it wasn't raining, and C, it wasn't snowing, and uh, D is the next one. I knew the road very well, so I kind of made it back without dying. But I'm going soon, that's for sure. I mean, I'm in my mid 70s, and I'm just here doing 11%. So that's why when I go out, so I went out and I read everyone in the operating room. I read their palms before they put me out. I, did all of that. I talked to people in the waiting room and gave them, solace and talked to them about their issues. And now a couple of the tweakers here are like, wow, and I've helped them. But they're when I go back to Colonel Sanders basically forces them to drink with him, right? And so whenever you're drunk all the time, like he is, you cannot really. He is self-medicating because of all of what he's scared of, right? And that's why he has so many guns. And I said to him, "So why don't you lock this stuff up? You got all these kids." He said, "Well, no." And it's not like he's training them. No, he's just got all these really nasty guns everywhere. And they're kids. They get pissed off, bang, bang, bang. So, and that's pretty much everyone. Everyone is stressed out. Now I talk to God all the time, and I talk to you guys, and walk through the woods a great deal. Of us, I'm not that stressed out. And man, I have been in war zones. I lived in the Lower East Side for 20 years. My little neighborhood in Alphabet City down near you know, Avenue G, there were like 5 murders every week for 20 years. And it was sounds of AK-70s going off all the time. And the cops, there were no cops. So they didn't go down there. They didn't care. The rich people told them not to go down there because the rich people wanted everything to burn so they could buy it cheap and turn it into the Upper West Side. So that's what's going on right now across the nation, right? And that little fire that was on 95, I wouldn't. Who knows who set that? But that sure wasn't some heating oil truck that rolled over. I mean, it burned up this whole freaking bridge, right? And the fact that it's still standing is a testament to how well we built roads back in the '60s. So anyway, um, any questions? Right? Is anybody there? I don't think so. 22 minutes and 22 seconds. So I think I might go. I'm getting hungry. I made a nice little meal for myself. So I cook it and then I let it sit for a while and then I warm it up. So anyway, that's I want to check my blood sugar too, because the lower I can get my blood sugar, the better my eyeball will work. Um, that's I have diabetic eyes basically. I've got diabetic everything, right? And that's what's kind of killing me. That 15 years of unbelievable hedonist excess. I didn't die all the way, just died kind of. So that gave me. So I've been around now since I died in 2014. It's almost next year will be 10 years, right? And every time I go see my doctors, my endocrinologist and all my other doctors are constantly saying the same stupid joke. Oh boy, you're the most healthiest dead guy I've ever seen. So anyway, and the other thing, when I went to saw my eye surgeon guy, who hadn't been giving me the shot for the last year to save himself money, basically said, "Well, you really need the shot now." I said, "Okay." Well, you don't want to go home and think about it? So why should I? You got time, you got the stuff, let's do it now. Really? And I said, yeah. He said, have you eaten anything? No. Okay, let's do it. And so they did it, and I have faith in them. They're good enough. And but in reality, all medicine in America is basically at best um, mediocre, right? So, and, that's the price I pay, right? But uh, and I go out and about mostly. So if I don't go out in the morning, so the tweakers have just gotten back. So I basically was out and about. I don't not at all today. I just kind of stayed and walked through the forest because there was nobody around. It was quiet. It was pretty. Right now, it's like it is. Right, like God knows. It's probably 4 o'clock now, and who knows what they're going to be up to. So I'm going to get down the road and basically catch you guys later, maybe tomorrow. Um, I think I skipped yesterday. I lose count. So anyway, how about something in my PayPal? How about some comments over here, and about getting to be in the comments of the show, right? And but I keep doing this because I do this for to be in co-creation with love, right? And to serve um, unconditional forgiveness, right? This is like I tell you stories about the trials and tribulations of your sensei El Bob and how I deal with them, and it's which is a good example. I live by example, and I'm not perfect, but I do my best, right? And every day and every way, I take the piece of the earth and I make it stronger by having a conscious intent, right? Intent to do my best, period, right? So I do. I mean, I could like say, I fix this road all the time. I don't need it fixed. I have a small wheelbase. Those guys have these gigantic trucks with trailers, and they rip the shit out of it. But I go with my little rake and fill up the potholes and keep the swell. So when it does rain real hard, instead of ripping up the road, it takes the water off into the woods, right? And they don't do squat to help me. No, no. And they kind of like, what are you doing that for? Because if I and I don't, I went away between Thanksgiving and end of February, right? So I didn't do anything, and I didn't really do anything for 2 months because we didn't really have any rain. So when I got back, the road was, you know, it was the mud apocalypse, and when they were parking their shit, they were like getting tons of mud into the bottom of the car, so it was starting to rust out, right? Not me, my vehicle. I keep in a dry spot. Basically, I have a good 10 inches, and I don't look like some gigantic penis wagon. No, I have a nice little Kia, but it's why I bought it because it was 4-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, 9 inches, from the bottom of the wheelbase to the middle of the wheel. So it's like, and it doesn't have gigantic tires, so it doesn't look like a monster, but it's high enough for these kind of hills and mountains and flooding areas that it takes it quite nicely, right? And these morons, I put up the big steep hill at about 5 miles an hour. I just put it in gear and let the vehicle pull itself up the hill at its own happy rate. Captain Marvel and Colonel Sanders and Grandpa. Well, Grandpa takes it relatively moderate. He probably goes up around 10 miles an hour. But the others, they go about 40 miles up and down, and they've already wrecked 3 or 4 cars. You'd think after the first they would like, oh, maybe I should go a little slower. Anyway, so that's the report, but they are just a metaphor of what's going on in the world. You think it's really obvious what's going on right now, but no one's paying very much attention. Everyone is stuck in there. They're like so upset about you know um, what bathroom people use, and I mean, people, wait, they're canceling our culture. No, the whole thing about you know segregation really didn't start until Woodrow Wilson. He's the guy. Between the end of the Civil War and Woodrow Wilson, there was a thing called Reconstruction. In D.C., most of the middle management bureaucrats were black, right? Because they were well educated, right? And the whites not so much. So because they had a superior place in the social structure, they could be dumb, stupid, and poor, and still be treated better than black folk. So that's why black people were moving all over the place, going up to Chicago, going over to Boston, coming down to New York, going to this, going there, because they would just go in where the jobs were they went, right? And they were, well capable of doing the jobs more than the white tweakers. I mean, that's why Colonel Sanders, he can't get a job. He couldn't get a job in McDonald's. So his mommy pays his bills, and she's laundering money. I think. I mean, who knows? I don't know anything. Don't believe a word I say. This is all just for your entertainment. Nothing is true. It's all fake news. I love Carrot Ed. And you want to get a hold of any of my novels, get a hold of me at the dudeawake42 at Gmail, and I'll send you one or two. I've written 15 so far. I mean, that's one of the great motivation since I got here in 2008. And I stayed here from 2018 till now. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So 5 years. I've written 18 novels, and now I am wordsmithing them, like editing and chiseling them. And any of you guys out there who are publishers or whatever, get a hold of me. Let's see if Dr. B is around. Boop, 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 boop. Now here's a guy who is like, he's got more degrees than thermometer. I mean, that's what people used to say about me. And he's working as a janitor, which is okay. I've done worse. One of the greatest terrible jobs I had was selling vacuum cleaners. Another one, I was the guy out in front of the Jack in a Box in a clown outfit. I did some pretty good jobs. Okay, here we go. No, not that guy. He's too boring. He's a scholastic. He's always, gotta listen to Scott Ritter. Here we go. Can't really tell because I'm blind. Just guessing at what phone number I'm ringing. Oh, let's see what this fish is up to.
Hello?
Hey there, sweetie.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, I'm a little blind. I had my eye operated on Friday.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's kind of. I was looking like a comic book villain. And Colonel Sanders, I was talking to him, and like right now, I'm wearing these welding glasses. And he said, "Boy, those cool. I want those." And he went to take them off my head.
Mm.
And I said, "No, get your hands off my head." And he goes, "Don't yell at me." And I said, "I told you 15 times. I just spent a day in the operating room on my eye. And don't touch my." And he said, I just want to try your glass. I said, "No." It was like,
Some people have no sense of personal space.
or anything.
Yeah.
Or anything. Because he got very upset because he screams and yells all the time. And, I can project my energy. And I did right into his brain. And he like freaked out. And he goes, "Don't yell at me. Not around. My wife and children." I said, "They're not here. Nobody's here. It's just me and you. You have nothing to complain about. Be aware that and then I lifted my glasses and he goes, what happened to your eye?" I said, "I told you 15 times I was operated on," right? And so it's like, but he's not the only one,
Yeah.
A good, but not quite half, but almost half of the American populace is that guy's ilk. Right?
Yeah, and the other half doesn't want anything to do with you.
Right, exactly. Or anything.
It's like we have one extreme
or the
to
other.
the other.
Yes.
Where's the normal people?
Right. Oh, there's a few of us.
Yeah.
So what's your take on what happened in Groton, Connecticut on 95 on the Gold Star Bridge,
Well, I was actually asleep when you called.
right?
I listened to your message, and didn't know anything about it, so I had to look it up. But best I can tell, it's all lanes are open, and
But did you see any of the images of the fire? It was It was like the whole sky was a gigantic cloud of really black, nasty smoke.
well, no, if I did, I didn't pay any mind because there's been so many.
Right. And
With the
that's
train,
right,
and
right,
then
right.
there was another one, a real bad fire in Indiana.
Yep, yep. And there's a whole ton of fires and explosions and things at food processing plants all around the country.
Yeah, yeah, they've been that's been a problem for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like 20 to 50 of them. Big ones, not some
Hmm.
mom and pop thing, but something that could put a dent in on the food processing.
Yeah,
So,
they want us to eat bugs, don't you know?
something like that. Because, you know, in China, they're having a really nasty swine flu. They're having to cull almost all of their pigs.
Yeah, but they import a lot of their food. They're hoarding too.
Yeah, yeah, this is true. They do. I mean, see, that's what people don't realize that everyone's going, so this moron going on about how Russia and China are going to invade America. It's like, give me a freaking break. You know, Russia is invading a country that's right on their doorstep and they're getting their ass kicked, and China has no oil or food. All India has to do is block that little waterway right by them, and China would, the lights would go out and they would starve to death.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, no. I mean, the
They
United
gotta keep
States,
their people happy.
right? The United States is in. We have ocean on either side of us, and Canada and Mexico is part. People don't realize that NAFTA made Canada and Mexico part of America.
Yeah, I did.
I mean, they don't understand that. And when things get tough, we will be a entity that can feed itself and manufacture for itself. And we have more oil than anybody else. And Mexico has a ton of oil, and so does Canada. You know,
Yeah.
so it's we will be. It's like, did you ever read 1984?
No, I don't read.
You can read. You can get it books on sound, but anyway,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I do listen to books on sound, but no, I haven't listened to it.
well, what it does very nicely, and it was written in 1948, and that's why it's called 1984, because he just flipped, okay, this is what it's going to be like in 20 years. And he said that, there were three different, you know, geopolitical groups, Pan, Gemini, blah, 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 right? And these two groups are fighting against this other group for like the last 100 years. And our hero, our character, Winston, his job is to rewrite the news. And he thinks he's just, spinning it, right? He's not rewriting history, he's just spinning it. And then one
Right.
day they call him in and said, okay, it's going to be a long weekend. We have to rewrite all of history. And he goes, what? He goes, oh, yeah, well, we're going to start having a war with such and such. And these other people are going to be our allies. But they've been our deadly enemy for the last 100 years. And these people have been our best buddies for the last 100 years. And it's all going to switch. And we're going to have to rewrite all of history to show that those guys have always been our enemy and these guys have always been our friend, which shows that there is no real geopolitical anything. It's all a scam, right?
Mhm.
And so that's kind of what we are seeing right in front of us, and it's moving really quickly. Not as quickly as that, not over a weekend, but it's kind of happening. And no one's seeing me. I'm blind, and I can see it. It's like very bizarre. So. But the other side of the coin is it's been this way, so it's what it is. So the thing is to be nice to yourself and the ones around you that you love, and not get too upset about the things that can annoy you.
In the yard. Sorry.
Talking to the dog.
So, yeah, she ran out on the deck and barked, and the deck's 8 foot off the ground.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's got steps. But I yell at her, "Get in the yard!" She'll go down the stairs and go down in the yard and bark, and then it's not so loud.
Right.
Because I have the back door open. It's
So is she genetically a barker?
Well, she's an Australian Shepherd Blue Heeler.
Right. Yeah, they're barkers.
They're barkers, but I don't like the barking. That's why I don't like little dogs. I can't do little dogs. I don't like the yappers.
Is she a little dog?
No. I mean, she's normal size or whatever,
Right,
but
30, 40 pounds.
Yeah, well, she's a little bit heavier than that. She needs to lose some weight. She's overweight.
Right.
But she'll get out and bark. But the problem is the next door neighbor's dog barks, and then
everybody.
I'm a corner house.
Right.
I'm the corner house, so I have a next door neighbor, and then the house behind me, they have yappers, and they bark.
So everybody starts barking.
Everybody starts barking, and sometimes, she'll run out and bark. She'll bark usually when somebody knocks on the door.
Right.
But I tell her to hush, and she hushes. She's not one of those.
Right.
But I did have a blue heeler once that it was back when my grandmother was still alive. His name was Jake, and anyway, he went everywhere with me. I mean, everywhere.
Right.
The dog went everywhere.
Well, that's a good size to jump in the car and be with you.
Yeah. And so, but he had got to where, like, when my grandmother would get on the telephone, he barked the entire time she was on the phone. And I'd be talking to her, and she'd be like, "I'm gonna kill you! Shut up!"
Of course, and the dog doesn't. I mean, when dogs do that, it's gotten into their head. It's like a game.
Yeah. Because she does. Her name's Pepper. We call her Peps. She does this, like, it sounds like she goes woo 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 woo. She does that, and we're like, stop all that woo wooing, because she wants, like, a treat or whatever.
Yep.
But she's lazy.
I had an Australian Shepherd. So she had kind of blonde hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was also part. What's the dog? It's like it's a pretty big dog, but it has really long hair. It almost looks like some kind of pack animal. And so she looked like a little bear. She was all black. And she was, and so she would not make a noise. She would, like, look at me. She had looks, right? And so I could tell whether it was good look, bad look, someone's coming, and she just look, right?
Yeah.
And then if she needed to, she would get between me and whatever it was and just give this kind of guttural, like, I'm going to rip your leg off if you come any closer.
Yeah.
But she never went really wild and crazy. But she loved to run. She loved the ball. She loved to swim, because she also had a little, retriever in her. So she loved.
Yeah. With this Pepper, she will not swim for the life of her, and she's got a waterproof coat.
Right.
And I took her to the lake and tried to get her to swim. My dog that I had before I got Pepper, she got cancer.
Right.
I mean, I had that kind of relationship with her. She was an Irish setter, German pointer mix. She didn't bark. Well, she barked at the UPS man. But she loved to swim. You couldn't keep her out of the water.
So she lived in
one
Florida.
time got in the bathtub with me. I was taking a bath, and she jumped in the bath with me. And that's how much she loved the water.
Yep. So she loved that, and her son couldn't stand the water. He would just put his little toes in and run away. But we lived in Florida. We lived right on the Atlantic, where big, beautiful. The only little bit of beach left of the Florida coast was up near us, near Stewart, and because they built a nuclear reactor there, and nobody wanted to live quite near the nuclear reactor. And so we would go to the beach almost every day, and I had a lacrosse stick, and I would wing that sucker way out there, at least a half a football field out there. And she would go get it, and she loved to ride the waves in. She could like body surf like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And what she would love to do is right before the wave would crash, she would duck her head down so it would tumble her like she was in a washing machine,
Mhm.
and then she would be spat out on the beach, and then she'd like go, "Wow, that was so much fun!" And she'd grab the ball and run over, throw it again, right?
Yeah.
And I throw it, and if I threw the ball down the beach, her son, homie, he would go out. He liked playing ball, but he didn't want to get near that water. And it was more the sound of the waves than I think it was the water.
Uh,
It was so-
mine likes to play the ball. I have a gun that
Shoot it,
will shoot the ball,
right.
and she'll run after it, but she won't bring it back.
But she doesn't
I'm
realize.
like, okay.
Right,
In the house, she will,
right.
but outside, no. So normally, I get out in the yard and walk around the backyard with her, and I shoot the ball, and she takes off running after it, and I shoot another ball not the direction we were,
Right.
while I walk and get the other ball. But I mean, it's exercise for her,
And an
so
exercise for you too.
yeah, exercise for me too. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, she's going on uh two two
Oh, she's still a
two
kid.
two no, yeah, 2 years old.
Yeah, she's still a kid
Yes, yeah. So she's still got a lot of things,
to learn.
to learn, but she's got the normal sit, stay. I haven't found a word to make her stay, because I can't say. I have to make her come to me. I just have to say, "Come, come," and then sit down. For her to lay down.
Right.
Stay is one she hasn't quite mastered.
Right.
But she knows where. I mean, she's smart. Like the dog across the street, he likes the bones, and she knows where the bones are. She stares a hole in the box. So, but anyway,
Yep.
she's outside now.
So they're all different, and what's the real interesting thing I learned early as a dog boy? Actually, dogs get printed like from the time they're born. That first 2 weeks are probably the most important time, and if you can be with that dog in that period, you've got it sussed. Meaning, Bella, my black little mama dog. I was doing a demographic gig, and I was traveling around in my car, and I was way out in the middle of the sticks in Okie land. And I was driving around, and I was by a TVA lake, and I was going over this bridge, and this guy had a canvas bag, and it was, something was in it. And so I pull over and said, "What's in the bag?" And he opens up, and there's these two little puppies. I said, "How old are they?" He said, "Oh, I don't know, day or so." I said, "Why aren't they with the mom?" "I don't want them. I'm going to throw them in the lake." And I said, "Here, give them to me." So I took them, and I opened up the bag, and one was like, and the other one's looking straight in my eyes. "Get me out of here. I'll be the best dog. I'll do whatever you say. Just get me out of here." And I said, "Okay, I'll take these guys." So I took them, and the goofy one I found a good home for, and Mama Dog stayed with me for 17 years.
Yeah.
And
I
she was the best.
had a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, the English version,
Yeah.
not the American, not the Spuds McKenzie looking one.
The one with the flat nose or the regular nose?
The square head, like a pit,
Right.
but not.
But
Yeah,
not,
so
yes.
it was the English version.
And it weighs about 20 pounds.
Uh, well, no, she weighed a little bit more than 20. She was really short. She was the runt,
Right.
but she never barked. Never barked. She whined. When she wanted something, she'd
Right.
whine,
Right.
but she loved to run. Loved to run. She
Yeah.
run one time so much she run the pads off her.
Her feet.
Yes. She, before they built up
Yeah.
everything
Right.
around here,
Exactly.
we could ride the four wheelers
Right. Right.
all, through the woods, and she'd run with us. And a friend of mine was riding the four wheeler one day. I don't know where I was at, but riding it up and down the road,
Right.
and poor Luce was just running with her, and she
Was she still a
ran.
puppy? Was she still young?
No.
Hmm.
She
Because I've seen that happen to puppies where their feet hadn't really gotten toughed up yet.
No, her feet were really tough, but
Hmm.
she just loved
To run.
she loved the four wheeler. Like, if you stop the four wheeler
Right.
and let it, sit in the yard, she just lay out there with it.
It was like her
But she
friend.
lived to
It was,
be,
it was like
yeah,
her
it was like
buddy.
her friend.
Yeah. It was her buddy.
She lived to be 16 years old.
Huh.
So, yeah.
Well, that's pretty old. That's a good age for a pup.
Uh
Yeah.
huh.
Yeah. 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 I last months ago I was sitting out on my deck and two nice dogs who I didn't know, not from the usual suspect of dogs who come visit me, came and visited. And they came. It was totally dark. I was looking at the stars, and I felt this thing leaning against me. And it took out my flashlight, and it was the dog you just described. That kind of
Mhm.
dog, and a bigger, generically kind of probably a lab pit, maybe even a little bit of a boxer. He was, maybe a lot
It was
taller.
a sooner.
Yeah, right. Taller version of not version, but they were Mutt and Jeff. They had been hanging with each other, and they didn't bark, they didn't growl. They just kind of leaned against me like, we know you're a cool guy, so we just came to hang out. And I said, where are you guys from? They had really nice collars, right? So I said, well, somebody owns you. And so I said, you need to go home, and they didn't. They stayed. So I turned on the lights. I made something for myself, and I shared it with them, and they just kind of, fell asleep at my feet. And I was gonna. It was warmish, kind of, so I stayed in my hammock and watched the stars, and I fell asleep. And I woke up once, and they were like awake and like sitting there, like, okay, wake up, wake up. So I woke up, and I walked to the other side of my property. They came with me. I said, okay, you probably come from that direction, so go home. So they padded off into the woods, and I haven't seen them since. But they were really both. I spent a nice evening with them, and they didn't bark, they didn't growl, they didn't even beg. They just shared my hospitality.
Yeah.
They were nice guys.
That's the way my Lucy was. She went on walkabout every morning, walkabout to all the neighbors,
Yep, visited
and
them.
then
Yep.
come back. And I only heard her bark once, and that was because a groundhog come out.
Hmm.
We were again on the four wheeler, and she was barking, and it was unusual for her to bark. And I turned the four wheeler off and got off the four wheeler. And it was a big old groundhog, and it charged at me, and she snatched it up and shook it like 3 times. And
Right away.
yeah, well, she ran away with it and took it to the other side of the
Property.
Yeah, and it was dead. I rode over there. She had killed it. She broke its neck, I
Right.
guess, but she was like, "It's not gonna get you."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So those guys were nice, and so they can come back. And the Colonel Sanders dogs, they're being so many, like his little bitch. She's not even a year old, and he's knocked her up twice, so he can sell her babies.
that's crazy.
I mean, it's criminal. You're not supposed to. A dog shouldn't be bred until she's like 2 years old.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I've never paid for a dog.
Right.
Lucy actually was my sister's dog, the one that the Staffordshire. And the only reason they had her is her boyfriend at the time was friends with the guy who bred them, and they didn't expect Lucy to live because she was the runt, and they gave her to my sister. And my sister ain't too good, and they took off to Florida one time and asked me to keep her, and well, I did.
Right.
Till the day she died. Well, till the day I had to put her to sleep, but nonetheless.
My mama dog, she, I got, I died, and they were being taken care of by the lawyer I was working for such dogs, and then when I kind of recouped and took care of his business and stayed down in his hacienda, and we came back, Bella kind of realized that I couldn't take care of them anymore, right? And she was like, pushing 20, and so she was always in good health, and then she kind of slowed down, stopped eating. Homer, her son, was going, "Oh, what's up with mom?" And then one day he came and got me and said, "You got to see this." And she had dug her own grave in this place she liked to hang out in. And she was like digging a hole and like lying in it and then making a little deeper over here and a little deeper over here. And about a week later, he came up to my bedroom and said, hey, hey, hey. And so I came and I found, she wasn't where she normally slept. And I went out to the hole and she was dead in the hole.
Yeah, dogs do that. Jake, my blue heeler I was telling you about, he had cancer too, but I didn't know until they got in and did surgery. But he did that. He went off and he stayed gone for like 2 days and came back and was just filthy nasty. I don't know what he wallered in, but my grandma said dogs will do that. They'll go off, and when they get ready to die, they go off and to wherever, and they die.
Right.
I mean, that's just their nature.
I mean, that's what Indians do too. I mean, back in the
and
day.
Elephants.
Yes, back in the day. So yeah. So I wrapped her up in a big hefty bag, and then I had a few bags of concrete, and I put some on the bottom of it, and then I put the bag in there, and then I covered her up in dirt so nobody would dig her up.
Yeah.
So she's.
I never thought about putting them in Quickcrete. Well, I have a shelf full of pets now, but Jake, I guess, was the last one that I did bury. But yeah, I had a big old slab of limestone over top of it, so nobody would dig him up.
Yeah, well, that's probably good. But I had them right there, so I just kind of poured them on and put some water on them, and then it firmed up nice, and then I covered it up in dirt, and then nice flowers grew on top of her, and it was all good.
Yeah.
And then I got homie. I had a friend of mine who had a farm, and he loved, he was a sheepdog by breed, so it was a sheep farm, and he really took to it. And they had a bunch of kids, and I dropped them off there one day and said, "Okay, this is your new home." And then I came back in a couple of weeks because it was a bit different part of the country, and I wasn't going to see him again. So I came back to say, "Okay, this is." And so I got there. And I called them up a couple times. And they said, "Oh, he's great. Kids love him. He loves the kids. He's fitting right in, and he's doing a great job with with the sheep, and it's all good. So I went by. Anyway, so I came, and he saw my car, and he ran down the road, and then he followed me back to the farm. And then as soon as I opened the car, he shot in the car and sat in the front seat just like he always did, waiting. Okay, this was fun, but we're ready to go.
Yeah.
And I said, no, we gotta talk. So I left them there. So I've called them up a few times, and they said, no, he's great. He's doing great. So, and he was about 7 when I dropped him off with him. So he had a good life with me and his mom. And he knew stuff was changing once she died. And once I died, he kind of realized that it wasn't going to be the same old same. So he kind of embraced his change of life like I'm embracing my little change of life here. So that's what it is. And
that's you have to.
Yeah.
You have to change to fit the moment.
Yep. And that's what most people can't realize. That life is the moment, not the past and not the future even. It's the here and now, right now, this minute. This is all we got. This is it.
Yeah. You can't change what's happened.
No. You can
you can predict what's to come.
Right. You can kind of learn from it. I've learned a great deal from what I have experienced. But other than that, no. That's what it is. Anyway, so otherwise, what you doing this latter part of Sunday?
I was watching TV. I had been listening to I had been listening to podcasts, and I thought, well, I'm going to watch some TV, and I found a show. I don't think I've seen it. It's on Netflix, but it's like it's an Asian film. I don't know if it's Chinese or South Korean or whatever. They're Asian. It's called Alchemy of Souls.
So is it from old times or new times?
Well, I'm like 15 minutes into the very first episode. But it looks like, and it may even be Japan. I don't know.
Right.
It looks like samurai times.
Well, that would be Japan. China and Korea didn't have samurais. So you got samurais walking around.
Well, I don't know if they're actually. It's something about. It's called the name of the show is Alchemy of Souls.
That's kind of fun.
I don't know. Like I said, I just pulled up Netflix, and I was like, well, I've listened to enough stuff, and let me see if I can find something to watch, because I've been tired. I need to get out there and mow the yard, but
well, right now is the perfect time to do it. It's not really hot.
It's 58 degrees. No, it's chilly.
It's too cold. Okay.
No, well, no. I mean, it's not. I could, I just don't want to do it.
Have you done
it was 80 most of the week, and then Friday it dropped down,
Did you get all that rain?
I don't know, because I went to bed early Friday night. When I went to bed before dark, and it was thundering, and then I slept until like 4 or 5 the next morning, and then I went back to bed at like 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
Well, you needed some sleep. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, maybe go back to sleep or go back and watch the samurai movie. Either one. But I'm going to let you go because Mr. Magic has been he's burning up my phone here. So I just wanted to.
Well, all right. Talk to Mr. Magic.
Yep. I just wanted to finish our conversation. So.
All right. Well, holler at me anytime.
Okay, sweets. Talk to you later.
Bye. Bye.
How you doing?
What the heck was that?
Huh?
What's that?
Oh. Never heard of the phone. All right. All right. Oh.
What's shaking with you, handsome?
My lungs shaking. Right. Oh. Right.
You okay? You're semi unintelligible. Okay. Don't know what that's about, but hello. You okay?
Yes, fine.
Well, I couldn't understand a word you said. It sounded like you were inside a blender.
No, inside one.
Where are you now?
Inside the laundry.
Inside where?
Laundry.
Hmm. Well, enough of that. I think we will. Let's see if it's 5 o'clock. Okay. Yeah, it's time for dinner. And we're getting low on the battery there. So who is I can't read it. Even in capitals I can't read it. I can't read it. Anyway, that's okay. Okay. Phone doesn't want to do it. Well, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm not going to answer the phone because it was kind of unintelligible. So, and I'm about to run out of battery here on the show. I'll just go out with go out with this. Oh, are you there? He keeps trying. I wonder if he's stoned or drunk or what. Hello, are you there?
Third time's a charm. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, pretty good. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Sure?
Yep.
All right. I'm in the laundry room.
Oh, you're in the laundry room. Okay.
You know what that is?
Yeah, down in the basement where you do your laundry.
Very good. Yeah, you didn't answer me before when I asked you if you knew what that was.
Well, I couldn't understand a word you said. All I heard was that's all I heard. So
That sounds like a robot. That doesn't sound like me.
okay.
Can you do that again? What does that sound like? Pretty good.
It's pretty good.
God damn it, I like that. Do that again.
No, it hurts my voice.
Oh.
It strains
right.
my eye.
You have a dog? Yeah, I have a dog. What kind of dog is it? It's a dog. What does it look like? It's dog shaped. Yeah, no, your show was boring, so I figured I'd call and liven it up.
Okay.
Are we on the show?
Yeah,
or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
But not for long because my battery is about to go. So we got about 10, 15 minutes before I have to say goodnight.
Actually, I actually have a very important call.
Okay.
But I wanted to say hi, and I hope you're doing well, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Okay, Slim. I'm doing good.
Bye-bye.
Well, he's okay. That's good. Good to know that he's okay. Okay, gang. So let's see. Boop, 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 boop. I'm gonna jam out of here.